Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com.
Before people are interested.
But you know what? If you send me an email, you'll get a response, and it will be from me.
And I really don't have any desire to.
You haven't watched the trailer at all?
No.
A lot of people haven't heard of the couch division, so
It's a comfy division to be in, though.
it's super comfy. It's almost too comfy at times.
Your response to teams who see that as a new potential issue with districts?
Yeah, that's really a two-pronged question.
Let's see if there's any damage from that fall. There was. They snapped 330. Still on their back. 6 seconds to go.
Or was the highest ranked, but then as votes continue to pour in, everything kind of changed around a little bit. So we forget about that.
First Updates Now is brought to you by AnyMark. Are you competition ready? Count on AnyMark to be your source to stock up on batteries, boulders, components, and more at anymark.com. All right, good evening, everybody. Apparently, we're just full of hiccups today, and that's all right. Welcome to First Updates Now recap, where we're here to talk the latest about First Robotics. I'm Tyler Rolds.
I'm Justin Montois. Mike starts off tonight, but let me introduce our guest for tonight's show. Filling his place, we have Nik Cousins, a design and strategy mentor from PWNAGE 2451, and has been a part of FRC since 2010. Currently works for Genesis Automation, which hosts 2451. Welcome to Recap, Nik.
Oh, you got to take yourself off mute. Rookie mistake.
Oh, man. Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Doing great, man. Hey, what do you do at Genesis Automation, by the way?
So we do automation systems for like high precision equipment. So I help with all of that. And we've been helping out PWNAGE since 2010.
Awesome, man. And today we also have working in the background on an awesome FRC robot. And if you can't tell what it is, it's 254. Please welcome in Christina Taya from FRC 125, the Neutrons. Christine, can you tell us a little about, obviously it's 254, but why'd you choose that robot today?
I mean, it's pretty epic, and it's definitely one of the...
It's what? I'm sorry?
It's definitely one of my favorite robots. I love all the different angles and shapes on it. And it won champs and broke the Curie. So, I mean, what's not to love about that?
That's true.
So
Curie Cursor.
If you're watching, this could very well be shipped off to you in the next few days. So stick
So
around.
you got a little bit of a head start here. So what are you going to be doing with it the rest of the time during the show?
I did. So on my lunch break, I got a little overexcited. So I'll be finishing up the sketching. I'll finish the outlining, and then I will be adding color. So you guys will get to see that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, right. And we're going to be giving that away at the end of the show. And thanks to Christine for doing that and filling that in. And she'll be joining us every once in a while to do that. So if you are interested in that, make sure you let us know what you want to see for robots being drawn. And we'll be giving that away at the end of the show. So make sure that you follow our channel, and then we'll be doing that drawing later on. Justin, what we have on the docket for today?
So first story, kind of the first breaking news, first announced earlier today of a new program called the First Global Challenge. The challenge will involve one team involved from each country to compete in a rotating nation's capital each year in July. So it's kind of a cool concept. This year will take place in Washington, D.C., and 116 countries have confirmed they'll be competing. So it's kind of like the Olympics of robotics, it seems. First has also launched a new website, first.global, and seems to be separate from kind of the rest of their first family, which is interesting. Robots look to be similar in size to FTC robots. They utilize the Rev robotics components. So a lot of kind of breaking news today. Nik, did you have a chance to look it over, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got off work about an hour and a half ago, and then I saw everybody talking about it. So I'm just reading up about it right now. I guess I don't know how I feel about it yet, because I don't fully understand what it is and what need it's filling, I guess. Because it talks about, bringing all the different countries together, and like, it kind of seems like Champs already did that. So the biggest thing I can figure is that it's giving teams that didn't have access to the events an opportunity to compete in some way, especially smaller countries, I guess.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you think?
So, Nick actually said a really good point is in regards to what is it truly trying to fulfill? And I think first to find that a little bit, obviously they want to make it a global program. But the interesting thing is, it's like, well, I had that same question with First Festival of Champions, right? Like they never really fully defined what the purpose of that is, or at least in my opinion, they didn't. For this, so the one question I have is, why not just transform FTC into this? It seems very similar. Like, why not just go a direction where you take FTC and then if Rev Robotics is working out better for them than what Qualcomm is and Tetrix and stuff, why don't they just go an FTC with Rev Robotics or change the name FTC into it? Because I don't know what you guys have seen or Justin, what you've seen, man, but it seems pretty similar. Like, I mean, I haven't, read every single rule on things and what the game is fully going to entail, which I don't think is fully released yet. But it seems to me that this could be an evolution, possibly FTC, at least in my opinion. That's where I see it going. I wouldn't be surprised 5 years down the road. They're like, you know what? We're going to just change this into being the first global program instead.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's like truly unique and different is that there's just one team representing each country. So, well, I think, it's similar to FTC in the size of the robots. The fact that there's only one Team USA is kind of a cool and interesting thing to look at.
Yeah. So, and they already, and the winner of the, for that was was it the Innovation Challenge winner? I forget what it was called exactly.
Yeah, I'm still a little sketchy on that too.
Nick, do you remember what that was?
I'm sorry, for
for who Team USA is, I think I forget what the challenge is called, but it's like
it's the team from Alaska. I think they won the Inspire Award, which is I think like FTC's award basically.
Okay, that didn't have anything to do with the FedEx Challenge Award then, right, or anything like that?
Not as far as I know.
Okay, I remember seeing the Inspire thing. I thought there was something with a different challenge as well too, so I wasn't sure. But I wonder how they got chosen for that then.
Yeah,
how do they choose other countries? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if that was just for this year because they had to get it running, and like in future years there's gonna be some kind of, because like they're talking about it like it's the Olympics. Well, the Olympics, to go to the Olympics you have to qualify in some way, right? So is it gonna be like that in the future, or is it just gonna be them picking a team every year? That was very unclear.
Yeah, and the one thing and I'm sorry, when they said like we're going to make it like the Olympic Committee or whatever, like isn't that like one of the most corrupt organizations?
It is.
I was like, really? Okay, I guess we'll go that path. Why not? But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's cool. I think the one thing that is really cool is they've obviously have done some background work, and they have like 116 teams I think are currently signed up. So 116 countries are currently confirmed, plus another 15 or 16 that are still waiting to be confirmed. So I think that's pretty awesome.
I'm kind of interested how, like, I don't know, maybe I've been living under a rock, but how do they get all these teams confirmed and planning all this without anyone, like, it's the first time hearing about this, but they have 116 teams confirmed. I don't know.
Distracting us with two champs.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's all bait and switch.
Look over here, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the other thing I guess it's helping with is that other, like the public in other countries might get exposed to this more, because if it's going to be held somewhere else every year, then it's not just the teams in that country that are going to be exposed to the program. It's people who would just go to the event, I guess. So I guess that's cool. But I feel like maybe something like that could have been incorporated into like Festival of Champions, maybe. Like, what if Festival of Champions was just in a different country every year?
Totally agree. I was 100% surprised that wasn't tied in with that. And this seems that First has kept this totally separate. I don't even know if anything in First on Facebook or Twitter or First tweets or anything like that. I don't think they've said anything about this yet, have they? At least last time I checked.
I heard about it from the fun page.
Yeah. So, thank you.
From your post
at least we're doing our job, huh?
Yeah, plug right there.
I just want to point out that some of the teams that are currently confirmed as attending we're not currently accepting citizens from those countries to enter our country. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. How the hell is that going to work out, man? I mean, listen, without getting too political, what a travesty that would be if there's teams that can't come in because of that.
There's teams on this list from countries I've never even heard of before. So
Where's the list?
That's probably on the list too.
It's first.global/FGC/attending. There's literally a team that just says refugees. So that'll be interesting.
Well, I mean, there was at Vexworlds last year. There was if you remember, there was that team of Syrian refugees that what flag they flew or whatever. But so all right, let's move on here. Well, I do want to give a shout out to our buddies Greg Nadell and Red Robotics. Hey, great job for getting that, and look forward to what your company is going to do. And that's we have many friends in this that are many suppliers, and Greg's a great guy still, and. Still, he's always been a great guy, and he will be. But yeah, no, very exciting for him and his company and what they're doing. So yeah, just a good shout out to him. All right, so for a lot of the season this year, one thing we'll point out is that usually news-wise, like man, we got just delivers to us all the news we want, right? But this season actually. Especially team updates, it actually seems like it's been a pretty mellow season so far for team updates. But let's highlight a couple of them because this last week there have been a couple things in that. Update 6 was really big. Let's talk about Update 7, which came out today, clarifying interactions with the opponent's rope and gear sets. So not sure if either one of you two had a chance to read through this yet. But Nick, if you had a chance, any thoughts about that, especially in regards to interactions with the rope or the gears or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is surprising in it. I just read through it about 15 minutes ago. The gear set thing, I think it's basically what we all thought it was. They're just locking it in more and more as they get the lingo right. And the alliance rope, I think it's just kind of the same thing. Like it is how we all thought it was. They're just making sure that there's no loopholes in there or anything. I just, as far as not a lot of news, I think the rope thing, has still been kind of important. And I feel like once we have actual events start, then there's going to be someone out there who has some rope that everyone thinks probably shouldn't be illegal, but then somehow it is. So then they're going to have to.
Well, there's going to be plenty once we get to events between the pilots screwing up every other match. So that will come in time. Yeah. But Justin, did you get a chance to look over that?
Yeah, just like what Nick said, they're zeroing in a little bit. Usually toward, 3 weeks in, the team updates do tend to get pretty light, like this one is. But I'm excited. I really, just to move past a little bit, I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch. I know that the robot we're building, if nothing else, will be certainly interesting to look at. So I hope that a lot of teams. Really take the opportunity to build some really cool robots for this game because I do think it's going to be a lot of fun to play. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting game for sure. So, all right, update 6. This one, as Nick mentioned, there's a little bit more to talk about for this, and we saw really a big one with the rope, especially clarification in regards that you can knit, crochet, and intertwine ropes. So let's get your opinions on this, Nick. Have you picked up your crochet needles, and is Ponage looking at doing some fancy work on the rope this year?
Oh yeah, they're making it for the next 3 weeks. The sewing machines in the back, sweatshop style. Yeah, we still haven't even picked out the rope. It's kind of fallen to the back burner a little bit, as much as it can at least. But yeah, we're still prototyping everything we possibly can to figure out what's going to work best. So we're all over the board, and I figured it's probably better that way too, because with the rules maybe having changed the last couple weeks. It probably wasn't good to jump into it right away anyway. So
yeah, I hope that's done. Yeah.
I'm trying to get some of our team parents to crochet Ranger Robotics right into our rope.
There you go. That actually be pretty badass.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
It's like the new standard this year.
Yeah.
Go screw the old one. So Justin, what about you guys on Ranger Robotics? I mean, I know you guys don't want to get too far into exactly what you're doing strategy-wise and that sort of thing. I can respect that. But what are kind of your thoughts? I mean, are you guys, either one of you two going to be doing Velcro ropes this year or anything like that?
We really started looking at Velcro a lot, but the rope we have now, we have Velcro on our drum of our climber, but we just have a standard rope. And it grabs the Velcro incredibly well. So we might be one of the few teams that goes out there with a pretty normal and tame looking rope for ours. But we're really excited to be able to take our rope off of the field and take it back to our pit to intertwine it and not have to worry about trying to unwind on the field. So certainly looking forward to that. Actually, news right before I walked in here, our team, the team climbing station snapped right in half, right in the middle.
Oh my god!
I should get a lot of our we take pictures or video of all of our prototypes and post it to Slack. So a lot of the kids have video of it. So maybe I can get one of them to
that'd be
upload
awesome.
that quickly. But it's awesome. Our mock robot gets up to the top and it kind of sits there for a second and just right at the cross brace.
Better now than week 6 when you're testing the real robot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do want to just bring up one Q&A just because I do like to look at chat occasionally, and of course our awesome buddy Pain Train with all the very sophisticated and beneficial things that he posts. We really do appreciate that. I do want to send Nick, if you can bring up the question we had. There was, if you guys can see, Q354 asked, are you all considering progressively adding more verbs, synonyms with rope fabrication to IO4 in future team updates? If so, we'd like to submit the following: snake, whip, zigzag, and or I don't even know what that word is. Macrane? Is that it? Thanks in advance. So I love that, like, you have to take your team number to that. So it's not like you can even post anonymously on that. So that's good stuff. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think the Macram or Macrame or whatever, isn't that like what those rope bracelets are, like that kind of knitting or like knotting?
I thought it was that dance from the 90s that they do at first box competitions each time. That's the Macarena, sorry. All right, let's move on. That's a good time to move on, right? Justin?
All right. Yep. So let's get into a little bit of a game strategy. So now that we've had time to kind of digest Teamworks a little bit more, there's potential for a few different implementations of autonomous. So Nick, if we take a look at high level, mid level, low level teams, what are you expecting to see at kind of each level? Let's start with the low end teams. If you think about that minimum competitive concept, what do you expect most teams to be able to do? And don't say just drive forward. It needs to be better than that.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. As at a local event, at a regional or district or whatever you're at, I think it's hard to count on a lot more than a lower end team driving forward, right? Obviously, you would like them to do more. Just getting the 10 balls they preload. I think preloads are generally always like the first go-to for any year, generally, right? So if they could drive forward and get 10 balls in somehow, or even if they just get the 10 balls in, if that means they can't drive, then that'd be great, because if they're shooting 10 balls in the haggle, 30 points is huge versus the 5 you get for driving forward. So I think a lot of teams can manage that. That's value right there.
Let's take these one tier at a time for each one of us too. One thing I want to ask, and I just thought about this for low level teams. Do you guys remember in 2012 in autonomous that teams would actually pass the basketballs? Is there any value having those teams pass those balls to their alliance partner, the fuel?
I think so. I think a team that chose to go a little bit taller with the robot, so the 40-inch tall, if they have a nice tall shooter, I think a lot of teams, especially some of the higher level teams, are designing around being at that dumper level, so that 24-inch level. So it'd be pretty easy for those taller shooters to kind of just slowly feed balls into the hopper of a lower team. So I'm excited for that possibility, and I think we will see it. Maybe not at early events, as teams are unwilling to, come to reason with the quality of their own robot. But toward later events and the elimination rounds, I think when you need a team to just dump you 10 balls, I think you're going to see it.
I think there's value there, but I think at the same time, it might take away other value, because if I'm a robot and I'm having somebody else put robots in, or put balls into me, or fuel, I'm sorry, they're putting fuel into my robot, that might mean that now I'm not able to go place a gear instead, because I have to sit there and wait. So now is that taking other points away that I'd be scoring?
Or even go pick up fuel from other areas, right?
Right, the hoppers, sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So how about mid-tier teams, Nick?
I think mid-tier teams are definitely putting a gear on the peg, probably. I think because that's obviously got value. It's already in your robot. In some regards, in some spots, you would just drive forward and you'd essentially have it. So, and even lower end teams, I suppose, could do just a geared auto. But I think, and maybe higher end mid-tier teams, they're putting a gear on the peg and they're shooting their preloads in. That's kind of like a two-step auto, So, but by the end of the season, the mid-tier teams, I think, could definitely be there.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if it's a mid-tier level accomplishment or a high-tier level accomplishment. But obviously, the center peg is the easiest one, right? It's pretty much a drive forward, find a way to let go. You don't even really have to let it go. Honestly, the pilot can lift it right out of your robot. But it's the side pegs that are really going to be beneficial. I know, the scouting app that we're developing for this game, the location of teams' abilities to score, on the side pegs, especially. The peg away from where we kind of want to start is super important. So having some versatility there, not just getting the center peg, but the other ones as well are certainly very important. I think for a mid-level team and high-level teams, honestly.
Yeah, and I think Nick, I think you kind of hit on the head there too. In regards to a mid-tier team, like if they fall into a mid-tier team, they I think almost by default aren't able to score very effectively and autonomous from fuel wise. But I think I could see them scoring gears well, because if they're scoring well fuel and autonomous, I mean, man, if they can't do it in teleop, then that's just bad either driver or bad design for something like that. But yeah, I could definitely see a gear and then attempting to shoot. But I think kind of segueing into that next level, we start to see a combination of that, or teams starting to get more and more fuel. Would you say so?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if we're going into high tier, I think a high tier team in most events is probably going to be getting the fuel from the hopper that's nearby, one of those two 50-ball bins, and probably shooting at least some of them. The highest end teams are going to be shooting all of them, because the point value on those in auto is just so much higher. Shooting the ball in auto, if I can get 50 or 60 of them in auto, then I just saved myself 120 balls in teleop, or whatever, 180. So I think that's huge. The really good teams will probably be able to, go get 50 of those, and they'll be putting their gear on by the end while they're shooting them or something. At the very end in Einstein, you're going to have all three gears scored, and probably at least 50 of those balls collected and scored, if not all 100. So between three robots, that's happening some way, probably.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. I think that, with both hoppers being in the, in that scoreable area, I'm really excited to see two robots and autonomous just drive up, kind of hit both hoppers at the same time and just unload 120 balls toward that boiler, and autonomous is going to be incredible to watch.
Yeah, and the only thing I always imagine in this year's games that we're going to see something similar to the 2006, where like something's going to happen where just somehow those fuel just get stuck in there, and we're going to just have some field tech guy just reaching in the boiler trying to pull out fuel.
Yeah,
because so many balls are getting thrown in there. But I think that's exciting.
We're actually
over. There you go.
We've been joking around about a team that goes over to the hopper, gets the balls, and then something else happens, another robot hits them, they get angled a little bit, and now they're just 60 balls just get launched into the crowd. There's volunteers diving behind scoring tables trying to get out of the way. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
The good news is, though, is like this year, like it's not really, the fuel's not really of any substance where I don't think you have to dive or get, even if you get smacked, because we know that pilots are going to get hit at some point. So it's not that hard of a game piece, or even compared to like 2006 poop balls, at least those had some density to them where you still need to get out of the way. I think this year, other than people just not being used to field elements flying at their face, I don't know, if you sat behind the table, you get used to it, and it's kind of funny to laugh at the people who like freak out over it.
I don't think I'd want to take one in the face, at least from our shooter. I mean, it's I tell you what, we had a digital tachometer, so I was trying to read the RPM of our shooter so I could start getting the gearbox in order for the final robot. So I'm kind of leaning right near it. I got my head down trying to get because it works with retroflective tape. And I'm like, okay, shoot. And doesn't a ball come out and just hit the brim of my hat and take my hat right off? It was just like, out of a cartoon with the bullet takes the cowboy hat right off. It's exactly what it was like. It was so funny.
Okay, maybe I wouldn't want to be a referee then.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that other position. Or Dean Kanan, because he likes to stick his face next to the field every year, it seems.
Soccer ball right in the face.
Well, see, I'm curious about like how first decided to put people on the field. Like, they had somebody who was just like, all right, just throw a ball at me and like see how hard it hurts. Because you have to like they know it's gonna happen. So like, all right, we'll just how hard can we hit somebody and does it actually hurt?
It's just so funny how far our first has come, because if I remember 2006. Remember they had a velocity limit.
That's right.
So we had like a CO2 dragsters at our technology shop, and they had like a timing system. So we set up this big timing system to make sure we weren't shooting over velocity. And it's like they were so concerned about robots shooting too hard. And now
About
we have
balls being shot too hard. Yeah.
Exactly. Now we have human players on the field and teams shooting 50 of them. It's gonna just first has come a long way as far as safety.
All right, let's move on here. So another game strategy that I'm quite curious to see if teams are considering this is ground pickup for gear. So that was a pretty popular thread in Cheat Delphi. It's pretty easy to surmise that there's going to be gears on the field, right? We know that's going to happen at some point. How many is really the question for that. So I'm not sure if you guys can speak to your teams, if you want to speak to what your teams are doing, but are there enough gears on the field to warrant having a ground pickup on robots, Nick?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. I mean, when you look at the different possibilities of different situations where you would get a gear off the ground versus getting it from the slot, there's only one situation where you get a gear from the slot. But getting a gear from the ground, you could have it fall out of your slot. The other alliance could accidentally have it fall out of their slot when they're trying to load it. And that one's even more valuable because that's sitting right next to your airship. There's the possibility of your teammate dropping a gear when they're trying to score it. And so now, for one thing, that's valuable because it's right where you have to score it, so it's easy. But then also, if that's there and you can't pick it up or get it out of the way, are you going to be able to drive all the way into the peg enough to get your gear onto the peg, or is that going to jam up against the airship wall? There's so many different possibilities where it would mess up your game, and it's got so much value in certain spots that I think it's almost a no-brainer to pick them up from the floor.
Yeah, I agree. We just, our shared discussion boiled down to, do we want to lose a regional because with 10 seconds left, there was a gear right by the peg that we just couldn't pick up. That'd be a really crappy way to lose an event. So we're pursuing that, and I think a lot of high-level teams will do the same.
So one thing I always kind of show as an analogy, and it's not the best because there's a lot more game pieces in 2013, which actually I think almost goes to my point more. But in 2013, I don't believe that the Winnie Alliance and Einstein had any ground pickups, did they?
On which year?
In 2013.
2013.
I don't believe. Did Texas Torque? Yeah, I think. Okay.
I thought Torque did.
Okay, so one of them did, I guess. But I guess my point being is that even that year where there were tons of game pieces on the field, you only had 1 out of 3 robots or something like that. So I'm curious. I don't disagree with you guys in regards to that. I think it comes down to a lot of it's going to be packaging for your team. And what do you potentially sacrifice to have a gear pickup? And for some teams, you won't be sacrificing much because you know what to do for that stuff. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there where they might have to make a tough choice with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely, just like everything in FRC, it's always a cost benefit. If you're going to have that, well, you might have to sacrifice something else. So what has to go if you're going to have a gear pickup? Or, are you that awesome that you can package everything in the right amount of space, which is pretty tough to do this year, especially, but then also the weight and everything else. So, but, as far as your 2013 analogy, I think the difference there is that each Frisbee wasn't as valuable as each gear is this year.
Bingo.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of like comparing a Frisbee to a ball would be more accurate. Now, a ball's probably not as valuable as a Frisbee was, but it's a lot more in that realm, whereas a gear has a lot more value, so.
So for me, trying to think about what alliance selections are going to be like at the events we're attending, I think that gear ground pickup to me is 10 times more valuable than fuel pickup. I think that unless you have a really successful autonomous mode, I'm not sure how realistic it is, and I've been wrong before, to score 120 balls in the high goal in teleop. I just don't see it happening. Gears are too important. And you might see teams that are very good at getting a gear, picking up balls on the way back, delivering their gear, delivering their balls, and running that cycle. I think gears are just too valuable. And balls in teleop, I think, are too non-essential. You have to capitalize on autonomous. If you've lost autonomous, you have to win on gears. At that point, balls become even less valuable. So,
at what level of play, though? I mean, I agree in qualification, sure, but in eliminations, I guess it depends which regional or event you're at. But in finals of events, man, you should be getting qualifying for enough KPA and getting all the gears if you're going to win a regional, don't you think?
Well, I feel like at a regional or a district, there's depending on the event you're at. Look at last year, like alliances were not getting the capture every time, even though
that's true.
They should probably a lot of times maybe should have, but a lot of times they weren't able to because just that first alliance didn't even have the second robot to be able to get enough balls. And then I also look at it at champs. I don't see any reason why first probably won't be bumping up the gear amount you need. Take away those pre-populated gears. So we look at it as, well, what are they? What are you gonna have to do when you get to champs, right? And if you can't count on those gears being there, so now instead of needing 13 gears for all 4 propellers, now you need 16, right? Well, 15 with the free one. So that makes it even harder for an alliance to get all the gears in. So anything you can do to speed up getting all of them scored, I think, is valuable.
It's interesting to see how it plays out, because I think that in the finals of the run-of-the-mill average regional, I don't think you're going to see 2 alliances that can score 12 or 13 gears or whatever the number is. I think you're going to have one alliance that it's very obvious that they'll be able to do it because it's probably the number 1 seed, and then you have one alliance that everything needs to go absolutely perfect for them to do it. I just think at the average event, I think that scoring that many gears for a lot of alliances is going to be very difficult. I don't think you'll see all 4 rotors spinning at the end of elimination matches more than 10% of the time. I think it's going to be very rare.
Well, I'll take a stake bet on that. I totally disagree, and maybe in quarters or something like that. But later on, I mean, you mentioned yourself that gears are that important, and you get an extra 100 points for getting all those rotors going. That's kind of like last year, where it's like you had to get the defenses crossed to get the point bonus for that, and that was more important than in the capture because it was overall easier to do. I think that's going to be the same thing with gears.
I think, that's true. I think maybe it comes down to more how many teams are making a concerted effort to do gears well. And I don't know. I'm of the belief that I think people are thinking that putting the gears on the peg is going to be easier than I think it might be. I think more teams are going to struggle once they go to have the final robot and they've got their, most people are probably going to have a gear shoot, right, where it just lifts out of there. And I think a lot of them are going to go to drive and put it on the peg, and they're going to have to finagle it on a lot more and take up a lot more time than they think. So they're only going to be going to get like 2 or 3 gears, per match because it's going to take them so long. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
And I know there's a pilot right there, and I know you think it's easier for them to look down and say, go, no go. I think you're going to see a lot of false positives. You're going to see a lot of teams thinking that gear's on there. They're going to back away and it's going to fall to the ground. Yeah. But maybe where you're, Tyler, where your events are, teams are a lot better. But if you look at if you look at last year at the Finger Lakes Regional, in finals match 1, the winning alliance breached the defenses, captured the tower. The losing alliance did not capture the tower. In finals match 2, neither captured the tower. At Buckeye, which is our other event, the losing alliance in finals match 1 did not capture the tower. The winning events did. So if teams can't, I think that scoring 13 gears is harder than scoring 8 balls, and teams couldn't do it. So I don't know.
No, that's
we'll
fair.
See.
It's going to be impossible to tell. And by the way, using Buckeye as a example is pretty weak. But sorry, anybody who goes to Buckeye, my bad. All right, we got to move on. We're on a little bit of a time thing, so we're going to keep moving on here. We do have to actually take a short break to thank our main sponsor for this show, and you guys know them and love them. That's AnyMark. And let's dive into our product for today, which is the Gadgeteer Pigeon IMU by Cross the Road Electronics. Now, IMU, of course, is inertial measurement unit, which I didn't know that, but everybody else didn't first. And the Pigeon contains a 3-axis magnetometer, accelerometer, and gyro. It can be connected to the Gadgeteer port on the Talon SRX or Hero for power. So make sure you check that out on AnyMark and look at the Pigeon Gadgeteer, the Gadgeteer Pigeon. Also, one thing we wanted to tell you about, and Andy asked us to talk about this a little bit, is if you haven't checked Chief Delphi, there is a contest running on right now that's ending in the next couple days. So make sure you take a look. There's the G04R03 Awareness Contest, and AnyMark is giving a $250 AnyMark gift certificate for the entry that most creatively raises awareness for the G4 sizing rule, which includes the bumpers and the sizing of the robot, which hopefully our 2 hosts on the show know about. This is due February 1st, so you got to get it in. That's only 2 more days to get that in, or it's today and tomorrow, right? To get that in, and you can get yourself a $250 AnyMark gift certificate. I heard there are not very many entries right now, so you probably got a really good shot at winning if you get that in. So make sure you go check that out. And you can do this by heading over to anymark.com. And don't forget to check out the deal of the day at AnyMark as well. And a huge thank you to AnyMark for making First Updates Now happen. We really appreciate their support. We would not have this show without them. And Andy Mark wishes all teams a successful 2017 season.
I can't tell you how many of our newer mentors have had to explain, no, this year the bumpers is part of that thing. So just keep that in mind.
Nick, is your team compliant?
I guess we'll find out.
Oh boy. So we're Nick, let's switch gears a little bit. That's a Steamworks pun. I go back to when championships at the Georgia Dome. Great place, love it. Now, if you don't know, the Georgia Dome played its last football game a little over a week ago and will be closing down events in March. The first championship was there for 7 seasons. Your first year was 2010. So I don't know if you attended championships at the Georgia Dome, but do you have any memories of that championship or Atlanta in general?
Sorry, Nick, I forgot to take that out.
No, you're good. I unfortunately did not get to attend the 2010 championships. We lost to the Simbot. We lost to the Simbot OP Alliance at Toronto on a triple hang, and we lost to Bomb Squad at Midwest. So didn't get to go that year.
Yeah, in other words, our regionals in the Midwest are actually quite superior. That's what.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know if Toronto counts as Midwest, but sure.
Well, sure, we'll include that. I'll gladly bring in Toronto and Ontario into the Midwest. Great. I think that's fair. Hey, actually, Christine, who's drawn right now, do you want to jump in here about your favorite story from Atlanta Championships in the Georgia Dome?
Yeah, definitely. So I went to all 7 of those championships, I believe. But my most memorable season there was definitely 2004. So I was finally a freshman on Team 175. I had kind of joined the team as a child groupie in the 3rd grade, but that was my first official year on the team. My oldest sister was on the team as well, and my youngest sister was, I don't know, an obnoxious toddler at that point. But so we did a pretty good robot that year. We did okay at our first regional. I think we were finalists. The second regional, I think we were out in the semis or the quarters, but we were actually the winners of the Curie division that year, and we we beat 190, who was pretty much unbeatable that year. They had an incredible autonomous that they climbed the steps and then hung an autonomous and played defense the entire match over the stationary goal. And it was unreal. So we played them in the quarterfinals. We actually played, I think it was Mort and 179. So a really, really tough alliance. And we were paired with 1038 and 1388. I think we were the 4th alliance, maybe. We were their first pick. But I was actually looking at the alliance selections today. Like, I found a random picture of it, and the number 1 seeded team there was Chief Del 547, and they chose 126 as their first pick. And Simbot was the first pick of like the 6 seeded alliance. So it was interesting to see like how times have changed. Like,
well, they were only a 2nd-year team back then.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. But so that year was awesome. We ended up winning our division in the quarterfinal match against 190. In the last like 3 seconds, we went and were able to slam the doubler ball in our stationary goal and ended up winning the match. Literally with seconds left, slammed it back in. And I remember we all went nuts. So it was definitely one of my most memorable seasons there. And the aquarium is unreal.
Yeah, the aquarium was cool. That was
always a highlight every year.
I was going to mention that. And I'll jump in here with the dome itself, man. That was a really cool venue, and I know that people are starting to say that it's starting to show its age, but it was nice. I mean, in 2004, and I'm sure Christine, you remember this, is that the walk from the pits to the field was ridiculous. Even if you had a pass to go through that because you were in Convention Hall A. But afterwards, they moved it to be a bit closer, at least if you were a drive team member or something like that. And I don't know, something about it, just like compared to St. Louis, maybe it was just nicer weather. I'm not sure. But it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. Just the walk around seemed nicer. The city of Atlanta, I absolutely love, especially as an adult. And I had champs. 2004 was my senior year in high school. So I got to experience both as a student and as an adult. And as an adult, Atlanta was freaking cool. There was so much to do there. And I don't know if you ever went to the underground or anything like that, but like it was just neat. You could walk around. You get Centennial Park. You had the CNN Tower. Just lots of neat areas. And I think that's something that I found a couple awesome places in St. Louis, Farrell's Donuts, that you can get good stuff at. But Atlanta just kind of, I don't know if I felt safer, if it just felt more open. Atlanta just, it felt more like a place I wanted to be at for championships. And from a flight perspective, Atlanta's a great hub for that. Even though it's on the east side of the states, it's a huge hub for Delta and a couple other airlines and the busiest airport in the states, if I'm correct. And that just made it, I think, really accessible for teams. So how about you, Justin?
Yeah, so I was 2005 to 2010, we were there every year. And I don't know if it's like a first love kind of thing, because I think for a lot of us it was our first championship. I never went to Houston or Epcot, but it was just an incredible something about remember the escalator going down.
Yeah.
You just see the sea of teams waiting to get in, and as you're going down, you can see Mo's bright green. It was just an incredible thing. I miss Atlanta so much. But you're right. I want to talk again about the walk, because I was drive coached 2009, 2010, so the last 2 years there. And I think that, especially as an adult drive coach, you end up with a very close relationship with the students on the drive team. So the hustle and bustle of the pit, everything, the stress of getting ready for the match, but you had that nice mile walk where it was just you and those 3 kids. And it was just a very cathartic walk. And I miss the heck out of Atlanta. It was an incredible place.
Yeah, just to add one more thing to that too. I feel like even at the event and then in Centennial Park and around the city, you were interacting with teams more. And I remember the wrap party first through was in Centennial Park, and it was cool. Like there were tents, there were bounce houses, like a DJ, but like everybody was always interacting, whether you were going to your hotel or in that huge grassy area in between the pits and the dome. I think I met more people at the Atlanta championships than any other championship, because you were always kind of like intermingling with the other teams.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey,
in Atlanta, Justin, one thing I'll talk about, because it just popped in my head before we move on. You talked about those escalators and seeing the teams doing that. I remember my first year there that there was kids like luging down the escalators.
Oh, God.
And I used to remember the team or what it was, but on the bottom of the last escalator, there was this little nub sticking out. And if you can imagine where I'm going with this, kid thought it was awesome to luge down all these as he goes down all of them and gets to the last one. And you just see him hit this nub on the way down.
Oh.
I guarantee you he sure as hell didn't do that again. Because, man, was he withering in pain for a long, long time. But
I bet.
You don't get those magical memories in St. Louis, right?
I just don't. I don't know what it is. I just don't.
This is making me real excited for Detroit, guys.
Yes. Hey, who knows? Maybe they have magical escalators too.
Maybe.
I'll be happy to be out of St. Louis, actually.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm ready for a change. I'm interested in. I'm not ready for 2 champs, but I'm ready for a change out of St. Louis.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up our discussions with another trip down memory lane. And all of us have been in the pits at some point, and some more than others, because I'm sure Sally there that often, but and had the experience of working with inspectors, both good and bad for things. And I just want to pull off a thread on Chief Delphi that inspectors, they have a difficult job of working with teams that are both super high-end teams who really try to push the boundaries with inspectors. And then you had teams that literally just have the worst hornet's rat's nest of wiring that you've ever seen in your life before. Just ask you guys, and Christine, if you want to jump on this too, if you guys had any kind of stories about inspectors, any funny stories or good, bad experiences, anything like that with inspectors at all. Nick?
I have a happy one, if we want to kick it off with a happy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Go ahead.
So,
I'd love to hear it.
yeah, let's start this off on a good note. So I mentored Team 126 for 5 years, and it was a pretty awesome experience. They're lucky enough where they're an original and sustaining team, so they go to champs every year. And we had a really good group of newer kids who were our loading crew doing inspection, and it was their first year going through inspections. And I don't remember what division we were in. I think it was in 2013. We had a pretty decent robot that year, and our lead programmer Brian is doing the inspection, and he did not realize that Andy Baker was his inspector. So, after the whole thing went through, it obviously went great because it was Andy. I looked at him, I was like, you know who that was, right? And he was like, no. I was like, that's Andy Baker, Andy Baker. And he was like, what? Totally blew his mind. He was like, should I go should I go get his autograph or something? I was like, no, that's like being really weird. But it was like a really cool moment. And he was like, man, that guy was so nice. I was like, yeah, that's probably the best inspection we've had all year.
Yeah.
Let's cherish it.
Thanks for starting us off on a positive note, Christine, by the way. So, all right, Nick, go ahead.
I don't think we've had anything too horrifying, really. I think the only two I can really think of is the first year we used, we have a laser sensor that we've used a couple times. And the first time we used it was 2012. And the first event we went to get inspected, I think it was Greater Kansas City. And I think just because the inspector had never seen a laser on a robot before, just because that was pretty uncommon. But like we had all the documentation for it. It was class 1, and he looked through all of it for it had to be probably a half hour, and then he still went and got the head inspector, and they looked over it forever, and we were like, guys, it's class 1, and finally they were okay with it. So that was almost horrifying though. And then in 2015 we had, because there was transport configuration that year, so we actually had the way our battery mounted to the robot. It was actually mounted outside the transport configuration, but the holder and everything fit inside transport, so which was all fine, but for some reason the inspector was like, no, that's not okay, you have to be able to have the battery in the robot in transport. And we were like, where is that rule? Because we were like, if that's the case, then we're hosed, because we had it towards the back of the robot for weight counterbalance and everything. So if we had to move the battery, it would have been disastrous. So that almost was bad, but luckily that worked out okay.
All right, Justin, anything from you?
I just want to one horror story and then one source of discussion. I know we're on a little bit of a time schedule, but so we had in 2014 when I was with 340, we were at championship, and I don't even remember what the issue was over. We had an inspector that just would not pass. I was dying. We were missing practice matches. We had been through 2 events. We didn't change anything. We thought it would be breeze. He was just crushing us. So we went. So we're like, okay, can we have a different inspector? So the guy's like, sure. So we got, I don't know if you guys know Titus from 179.
Oh yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
Great guy.
He came over. He's like, yep. Check. Sign here. Here's a sticker. Walked away. I was like, thank you.
Yeah. Where can we get more of you?
Exactly.
I didn't know you can request a different inspector.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's like requesting a different, a judge when you're in court or something like that, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Not that I know anything about that.
Maybe the guy was as sick of us as we were of him. But
yeah.
Here's an interesting concept. What if we just got rid of the inspection process completely? It would drastically reduce the number of volunteers required at each event, and then just do an inspection on the robots that win, just like in NASCAR, right? So they do a post race inspection. So I just think that we have so many already in first. So many places exist that if teams wanted to cheat, they could. So if we're already giving them so much freedom and flexibility in so many different areas, why are we still so tied to this concept of inspection? I think it should be on a case by case basis, right? So if your argument is, well, we want to make sure that robots are safe. Okay, well, if a robot smokes or starts doing something going on the field, they have to go through an inspection before they're cleared again. I just think it would remove a lot of stress from a lot of teams and a lot of volunteers. And the benefit of, to be frank, once the inspector leaves, you could change anything you want in your robot anyway. So what is the song and dance that is the inspection process anyway?
So I'll go ahead and start with that. I think one of the biggest things is not necessarily for hiring teams who know what they're doing, and I don't think this excuses them from being inspected, but safety is a big concern with something like that too. I mean, as I mentioned, you do have teams that literally have fire hazards on their robot, and if you've seen some, I'm sure you walk around the pits, you probably help those teams out, right? And I mean, literally, there's ones where it's like, if you plug in your robot, you are going to start a fire. That's going to happen. So I would propose that we look at reducing what's being inspected for things. I think we focus more on the safety issues of things and making sure everything's safe. And then I agree with your left turn car thing idea, whatever you call that, of actually going through things. And it should be a safety thing. Everything else with that, sure, if it's a concern, or maybe inspect all the teams that are going to the playoffs because they have to be inspected anyways at that time, or they have to be reweighed, right. But then maybe just do a quick inspection with that as well. What say you, Nick?
Man, I don't know. I've never even thought about that. deregulation of inspection.
Yeah.
I guess taking some parts of it out would probably make sense. I don't think there's any way you would ever get rid of it, just because I'd never see first going for that. And the thing you said about NASCAR, about you just inspect the winner after, I don't see that. I don't think first would ever do something like that, because I don't think they can imagine having a winner, going and inspecting them, like finding out somebody did something wrong, and then like taking a championship away from something like that. Would be such
kids are going to be tested
nightmare.
for PEDs sooner or later. It's coming.
Well, yeah, maybe that's true, but yeah, no, this kid was hyped up on Adderall. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some parts of the inspection that could definitely at least be sped up, if not just eliminated.
What about, to Tower's point, I agree, safety. What about we just get rid of the inspection, or such an intense inspection at the championship? Teams have already been inspected once. The rat's nest hopefully has been removed. I don't know many teams that can really, I don't see many teams rewiring the robot at championship.
It's supposed to be. I know from talking to inspectors at champs that they are supposed to actually lighten up, because they have so many teams to get through. And with that same mentality, I don't know if there's actually a written rule for that, but I know from talking to many of the inspectors at championships that it is supposed to be that way.
It's interesting you say that, because our issues are always at championship, never at regionals.
I think you just have bad luck, Justin, because I feel like generally for us, when we're at championship, it's usually like expedited real fast. Like half the time we're with like, Al or somebody, and he's just like, yeah, whatever, you guys are fine, just move on.
Yeah,
they want to get done. They've got
exactly.
Especially when you have bigger divisions, and we had 100 teams still, and those guys were pumping 100 teams. They were like, we don't care, we just want to get done. As long as you're not going to like kill somebody, you've already gone through this twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, making it more official, I think, would definitely be a good idea.
But Justin, I totally hear you, man. Because when I was active on 2026, I mean, God, like we'd get one or two inspectors. We'd get either the one who knew what they were doing fully, and would either like test us on every single little thing, or you'd get somebody who wasn't as experienced, but then would take 2 hours to go through our damn robot. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. That's the sad part.
I know.
We had inspections that took 2 freaking hours. Yep. And that was we never really had, I don't think, too much. Maybe Nick, our producer in the background, can correct me, but I don't think at champs we really had too many issues with that. But man, at regional competition, there is absolutely no reason that an inspection should take more than 30 minutes unless there is something that is going to cause harm on your robot. I think 30, I think, is too long.
Yeah. At this point, everyone should take a look at Christine's drawing, because the blue is really starting to make it pop now. It looks fantastic. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oof.
The shading on those balls.
Yeah, it's really good.
She's even got like the seams drawn in.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be giving that away in just a little bit, guys, too. So make sure you stick around if you haven't. Make sure you do follow our channel, because in order to win, you do need to follow us. So we got to get something out of this, right? So yeah, make sure you follow us. Christine, a little bit too. She's going to come up with a secret password phrase thing that you're going to have to type in the chat, and that will get you an entry for winning as well. So I hope she's thinking about that, or already did as well. All right, so we did have a couple questions from our chat that we wanted to take in there. So we had 2 from Jamieson and then 1 from Skyhawk. So we'll do 1 from Jamieson first. Asked, how could cheesecaking impact the autonomous and eliminations? Could we see teams that are either put out of the way to avoid endangering the other alliance partners instead of helping? I'm sorry, I'm reading verbatim. So did you guys get that?
I think so.
I'm trying to reread it.
Okay, so how could cheesecaking impact the autonomous and eliminations, and could it negatively impact them instead of helping?
Go
ahead, Nick.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, there's so many ways it could impact autonomous. Especially with the fact that there's 2 different game objects this year, both can be scored, and they're all preloaded. Like, there's so many combinations of things you could do. I don't think. I guess what was the part of the question? If you cheesecake them, could it hinder their autonomous?
Could it hinder you instead of helping you?
I mean, I guess it could. That's always a possibility. But I think if you're at the point where you got the cheesecake on the robot and the cheesecake is working correctly, then I mean, you probably were able to get the autonomous to not be messing everything up.
Yeah, I mean, if they suck, they suck, right? I mean,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Falls and penalties regardless.
Right. So, and as far as cheesecake helping them, there's so many things. If they don't have a good way to score a gear in autonomous themselves, if you cheesecake them and then suddenly now they're able to, you just improve that. If they're feeding balls into you and you had to cheesecake something to add that, there's a possibility. There's so many things I think you could do.
Yeah, I think anytime you attach something to another robot that drive team doesn't have experience with, there's always the chance of something going awry. Maybe not during the autonomous mode necessarily, but as the rest of the match progresses. But I know from our perspective, you guys know how I feel about the quality of our events. We're really looking at our shooter, because of our 24-inch height, is already pretty compact. So we're kind of already have a team working on our shooter plus a little like cartridge of 10 balls that we can just attach to a robot that maybe doesn't have much else. And autonomous, we know our shooter looks pretty good. Large part and thanks to Nick, who's helped us out a little bit with that. But we know our shooter is going to be good. So if we can attach it, we're pretty confident that our programmers can get it to spin up and put 10 balls through an autonomous. So as long as we put it on the field in the right location, I think that's for us, it's a pretty realistic option.
I gotta be honest, that's the first time I've heard someone talk about cheesecaking a shooter onto a robot. I haven't had anyone talk about that yet. That's ambitious.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not really going to say much because if you want to see Cheesecake, we spent 2 hours talking about it last week on Candidly Speaking. So go ahead and watch that, and you can get all of our opinions on that as well. All right, next question from Skyhawk. Due to the possibility of a lot of balls in the air at once, will we see nets like in 2013? So do you think they're going to net the field, or net the airship?
I think they would have if they were going to already, right? I mean, that the net for 2013 was their day one, if I recall correctly. So unless it suddenly proves to be way more of an issue than they thought it was, I don't anticipate one. I guess I don't care because it shouldn't affect match play, however they do it. So I guess they already have the setup from 2013 relatively there. So if they needed to add it, at least they kind of already know how to do it correctly. So I suppose it's possible.
Yeah, and the nets are behind the boiler, I think, already, right? So there already are some nets on the field, just not in areas that are going to avoid from getting smacked in the face.
Right.
All right, last question. Possibility of a strategy of just dumping out all the hoppers immediately to create an increased challenge of driving. So just going around the field and just hitting all the hoppers and just putting tons of fuel on the ground. I think that's a great strategy for an offensive team, actually. But if you got a ground pickup, that's not a bad idea. But what do you guys think about that as a defensive strategy?
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that. A few hours into kickoff. Right away we said, well, because we were talking about not having a floor pickup for balls versus having one, and we were like, well, you don't have one, or if no one on your lines has one, I don't know as the opposing lines why you wouldn't just go around, dump a ball on the floor, and now I've got. How many balls is that? That's 500 balls on the ground that the other lines does not have access to. Like, yeah, that's definitely a strategy because that's a big lopsided source right there.
How about you, Justin? Oh, you're muted. That's probably why I was talking over you before because I didn't even hear you.
Wow.
Sorry.
How long have I been talking myself?
Oh, a while.
How did that even happen? Anyway. Yes, we had the same discussion. Certainly is a viable strategy if the other team is really counting on those hoppers being there.
Yeah, and Caltran putting 400 balls on the floor would be hilarious. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's
gonna happen.
You're gonna get Tortuga robots, aren't you?
We'll see.
100%.
On the field. Oh yeah, bumpers are too low. Yeah.
Oh, but I still think there'll be some robots that'll find a way to get.
Oh, absolutely! You're gonna see a robot that tips, gets up, and then falls on a bunch of balls, and that'll be it.
The bumpers are they're only 2 inches off the floor, but the radius of the bumper is all the way up to 3 and 3.25, right? So
yeah,
there's a way for teams to wedge them under, or the opening of the bumper, however their mechanism works, they'll end up jamming it underneath, or it'll happen for sure.
We really had a discussion. A brief aside, but how many teams do you think are going to show up with pneumatic wheels again, just because they used them last year and they kind of liked them?
That's possible. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. But pneumatic wheels weren't really a thing, a big thing until last year, unless you're 25. So it'll just be interesting to see how many of them make a return.
I'd be a little worried that would help you probably Tortuga on a ball a little bit.
Definitely.
Too, you're able to bounce on your wheels a little bit, bounce off that ball.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with Christine here, who's been working hard at drawing that 254 2014 robot. So let's bring that up on the screen there. What do you got for us, Christine?
Adding some color. We're getting there. The blue of 254's powder coating is pretty unbelievably blue. So trying to get that nice bright quality in there. And working on these awesome giant balls from 2014. Nice. I almost called them track balls, but
and it says ball so hard, right?
Ball so hard, indeed.
Awesome.
And that is that's what they did that year.
All right, so we're going to give that away in just a little bit. Christine, do you have a secret magical passphrase that our chat room can spam in the chat?
I do indeed. It is what you read here on this drawing. It is ball so hard.
Okay, so we're going to do hashtag ball so hard.
Ball so hard.
So if you want to win, you're going to have to type in hashtag ball so hard.
Is it cap sensitive?
No, it's
Case
not.
sensitive? No.
No.
Justin and I want to know so we can win.
Yeah. By the way, I love that Nick has already entered in because he can hear 20 seconds before the rest of the So he's
gotta get that extra
already
edge.
got it.
Gotta get that extra edge.
I'm gonna offer the person who wins $50 for that drawing.
You could just buy one for 20 on my Etsy shop.
Oh, I didn't know you had an Etsy shop. Throw it
Yeah.
up there. What is that?
About that at the end of the show.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll get that in just a little bit. Yeah, because she's got some really cool stuff on there. All right, so while finishing up the show and giving you the drawing, reminder, you do have to follow us. So please make sure you hit that follow button. We'd appreciate it. Hopefully you just want more First Robotics in your life as well. So let's start wrapping up here, Justin.
Sorry, I got distracted on the Etsy page. I'm excited to buy some stuff here in a little bit.
We'll check that out actually on there. First off, Justin, we do have a couple of big announcements to make, and we'll kind of wrap up behind that in just a second. But Premiere Night is back. We're doing it again.
Night is back.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so what Premiere Night is, and this concept that Mike and I came up with a little while back. So all these teams are coming out with these release videos, and that was awesome. But everyone kind of spluttered out a little bit. So we thought it'd be really cool to have one big show where teams would send us their release videos, and then we would kind of play them, talk about them, play them, talk about them, and have this awesome 3-hour show. And it was awesome. For our first Premiere Night, we had like over 1,000 viewers. We thought we were on the top of the world. It was fantastic. So the best part of Premiere Night is, even though it might only get you 1 or 2 YouTube views at the time, there are thousands of people that will watch your video. And for some of the I'm not trying to put this in a negative light at all, but some of the teams that wouldn't maybe necessarily get a lot of traffic on their robot release videos, this is a good way to really kind of bring some awareness to your team, celebrate your accomplishments. We've had teams, have watch parties, for Premiere Night. It's a good way to bring your team together. Just a lot of benefits for Premiere Night. But the only way Premiere Night can be super successful is if we had a lot of teams that participate. So on Saturday, February 25th is the date of the show. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern. But submissions, which are open to all FRC teams, are due by the end of the day, Wednesday, February 22nd. So as you're finishing up your build season and you're thinking about making a robot release video, keep that date in mind. Wednesday, February 22nd, end of the day. That's when we need your submission so we can get everything ready on our end to have a great Premiere Night.
Yeah, and it will be looking at 90-second videos again. We had, by the way, if you want views, we had over 6,000 people watch live last time. So it's incredible. We had awesome support from our community. We had a lot of people tuning in. We had a lot of awesome teams submit, both high-end and low-end teams. You just get it in. We'll even critique it a little bit, give you some feedback on what we think of it as well. The one thing I will tell you, when you do music choices, I would try to make sure you don't have copyrighted music, because you will get muted in our archive recording as well too. So I mean, we can show it live, but it does get not DCMA, but it will get claimed for something like that. So alrighty. All right, let's do that drawing here before we wrap up, and thank Nick for being on the show. So, winner of the awesome, super awesome sauce 254 drawing from Christine is going to be
No way.
Oh my God. I said he asked me if he was eligible. I said we crossed this bridge when we got here.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy right now.
Oh, I think we got to give it to him. We'll give it. We'll give. I was thinking about saying no. I think we'll give it to him.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, what are the odds of that? We had like 50 entries.
It was that early entry, man.
It was the early entry.
That was the difference maker.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And
yeah, rigged, totally rigged. Everybody put rigged in chat. He did something and rigged it. I know he did.
Had nothing to do with any of this, to be clear.
No.
I'm just.
Are we gonna guys? But are we gonna launch an investigation?
Maybe. Maybe we should re-roll again. I don't know. What do you think?
No, obviously.
No.
Yeah, totally rigged. All right. Well, congrats, man. You get to be. Thanks for coming to the show, and you get to do that as well. So, wow, I didn't think that would happen.
I did not think that would happen either. I almost, I didn't even
the media is rating this chat.
when I did the ball so hard, I almost forgot to favorite, and I was like, oh, I haven't favorited.
Rigged.
All right. Well, here's the good news: is Christine will be on again, right? You're gonna be on again, giving away more stuff on there, so I can do that as well. So, all right, Justin, why don't you give our guests a send off?
I'm distracted again on this SE page.
That's fine.
I think it's the coolest thing. Do we give her an opportunity to really promote it here?
Yeah. So we can start. Yeah, Christine. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your Etsy shop?
Yeah, so I just launched that, I don't know, maybe a few months ago after many of my friends had, urged me and bugged me because I have never really sold my artwork. But custom robot drawings available. You can do the smaller ones for about $20, larger ones for $40. There are sweet serving trays, which we used at our sweet founders after party. And then just up today are these sweet FRC themed Valentines for all of your awkward romance needs. So definitely check those out. That is awesome. Lots of fun poetry. There'll be more popping up in the next week once my kids actually get their chairman's essay moved along a little further and I have more time. But keep an eye out there. You can like my Facebook page, Wordplay All Day. I tend to update that pretty frequently when I have new work. So, and the Valentines are only $2. So, go grab one now, print them out, hand them to your teammates, show them that you love them, because you're going to be building a robot on Valentine's Day like every other year.
That is so cool. That is absolutely awesome, Christine.
It really is. That's really cool. I can't wait to order one.
And I love seeing everybody's robots. So, that's the most fun for me, is getting to look at, people's robots and really draw every little intricate detail. So
sweet.
All right, so Nik Lawrence, I knew I was going to say that. Nik Cousins, man, from 2451 PWNAGE. Thanks so much for coming on the show. What's going on with PWNAGE right now? Or where can people find you or PWNAGE on the internet?
Let's see, what's going on with us? I don't know, we're building a robot on the side, I guess. Yeah, I know, we're weird like that. You can find the team on Facebook, PWNAGE2451, should get you there. PWNAGErobotics.com for the website. I'm on Chief Delphi and PWNAGE Nik for anybody who doesn't know. You can find me at Facebook, Nik Cousins. So yeah.
Tinder, whatever.
Oh, and I want to, real quick, if I can plug something.
Yeah.
It's not our event, but some of the Rockford teams, which is nearby us up on the northern end of Illinois, they host an off-season event every July. It's actually the same weekend as Festival of Champions this year. R2OC off-season competition. It's super fun. So anyone who's in the area, sign up for that and come out and have some fun that weekend.
Yeah,
Tyler,
that's a great event. And I was at a wedding last year, so I couldn't make it, but definitely hope to get out there again this year. And the event last year filled really fast too. So if you want to get in, it's starting to become one of the premier events, especially in the Midwest. So make sure you get your entry in for that as well. All right. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget that you can follow First Updates Now and all the fun shows under First Updates Now. Feel free, if you like our show or just want more First Robotics in your life, go ahead and give us that follow on Twitch. We would greatly appreciate it. You can also subscribe to us to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We do also have new T-shirts available from Two Pencil Designs. We're actually going to be throwing those on sale tonight, so make sure you check that out. We're going to have a sale on those. We're literally going to be selling them for cost, so we just want to get them in the hands of you guys, and make sure you check that out. We really want to thank Two Pencil Designs for making those for us, putting it up, and doing the new fun logo as well. So go ahead and get yourself a fun t-shirt. And if you do, send us a tweet or a Facebook picture and we get it up there for you. We would really appreciate it. Also, a big thank you to our producer, Nik Olsen, doing an awesome job working behind the scenes, presenting this show. If you'd like to leave us feedback, go ahead and do that at feedback@firstupdatesnow.com. So we're going to be back with recap in 2 weeks at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. However, another announcement, we do have a new show piloting and launching on Thursday called First Help Now. So, and yes, we did steal it from the First Help Now people, but they're actually going to be part of it. They've helped us create this show, and we're doing it to try to get more people in the FIRST community. We're going to have live support and advice for your FRC team. And if you haven't had a chance to check out First Help Now, make sure you do that. They have a lot of awesome teams helping them out. 3132, 254, 359, 2826 is helping out. I think there's about a dozen teams, and we're going to have guests from each one of those teams come on the show after a while. So that will be piloting for about 3 weeks on Thursdays, taking live calls for that, answering your questions live, and that will be hosted by Libby Kamen. So we're very excited to have that going as well. So on behalf of myself, Justin, Mike, Nick, Christine, and Nick, I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much again to our guests and our moderators in chat, making the show happen and making it possible. We'll see you next time on First Updates Now. Talk to you then.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
This has been a First Updates Now production. Visit us at firstupdatesnow.com or find us under First Updates Now on Facebook or Twitter.